Thank you for visiting the Compliance Assistance section of ADAM's website. Today we'll discuss the most common compliance issues that general permittees have in complying with the general permit. The topics we will cover are failing to submit a notice of intent for permit coverage and for reissuance coverage, sampling and reporting deficiencies. We'll discuss inadequate record keeping. We'll also review some visual examples of poor best management practices. We'll talk about the compliance evaluation inspection. And finally, we'll discuss some of the consequences of non-compliance. So let's get started. You may ask yourself, does my facility need coverage under a general permit? Well, in order to make that determination, you must first identify your facility's Standard Industrial Classification Code, or SIC code. This code characterizes the industrial activities at your facility. A few examples are salvage and recycling, metal fabrication or metal finishing, or textile manufacturing. Next, you will need to determine if the industrial activity at your facility is listed under the 11 categories of industrial activities that must obtain an NPDES permit for their stormwater discharges. If so, you will need to complete and submit an electronic notice of intent, or NOI, for permit coverage, and also submit the permit application fee. This information can be found on ADAM's website. Please remember, before you operate or discharge, you must first submit a notice of intent for permit coverage. For those of you who already have permit coverage, one of your most frequent compliance issues is failing to renew your permit and failing to renew your permit by the due date. Your application for reissuance coverage must be submitted at least 90 days prior to the expiration date of your permit. This information can be located within your permit, so please read your permit. Another common compliance issue is inadequate sampling and reporting of discharge monitoring reports, or DMRs. The general permit requires that stormwater discharges and certain process water discharges are sampled and monitored for certain parameters. The type of permit that you have will determine the monitoring frequency and which parameters you will monitor. Another common compliance issue with DMRs is failing to submit the non-compliance form. This form should be submitted if you exceed a permit limit, if your DMRs are received past the due date, if you fail to submit your DMRs, and also if you fail to monitor. This information is also located in your permit, so please read your permit. Let's talk a bit about the Best Management Practices Plan, or BMP plan. A common question is, what exactly is a BMP plan? Well, it's a plan of documented controls that have been put in place that will effectively prevent pollutant discharges to surface water. The BMP plan is written specifically for the industrial activities at your facility. The Best Management Practices section of your permit covers all the information needed in which to prepare and implement a BMP plan. So please read this section of your permit. Now, let's look at a few common BMP issues. The next set of slides are visual examples of poor environmental housekeeping. Spillage and leaking containers. When spills and leaks happen, Clean up as much of the fluid as you can as quickly as possible. For small spills, you may use oil dry and shop rags. For larger spills, absorbent socks and pads may be used. Also, when disposing of these contaminated materials, please make sure that it's managed in accordance with applicable regulations. Containers should be routinely inspected. If there's evidence of leaks, then promptly repair or replace damaged parts to prevent polluted runoff. Also, open containers should be closed when not in use to prevent spills. Batteries, engines, and parts should be stored in a way that avoids exposure to rain. This can include storing parts indoors or storing under a roof on a sealed surface. If you store oily parts outside, then use weather and leak-proof covered containers. You may have heard of TSS or total suspended solids. In other words, dirt. Controlling the amount of dirt that runs off your property is important because metals and other harmful pollutants can attach themselves to the dirt particles and end up flowing off your property with stormwater. Eroded soil can also smother aquatic life. This is also true for particulates and debris. Providing adequate secondary containment for tanks, totes, drums, and other containers is also important. Make sure the containment has been sealed and free of cracks. The valves and drains should be closed when not in use. Also, the containment should not be filled with standing rainwater. Remember, when it rains or even snows, the flowing water can carry oils, metals, and other pollutants off your property. These materials can end up in streams, rivers, lakes, and bays, killing aquatic life and seriously polluting the water in your area where people may swim and fish. Now, let's move on to inspections. An inspection may be conducted at your facility for a number of reasons. It may be due to a citizen's complaint, or a release or spill may have occurred at your facility which resulted in a fish kill. But typically, your facility will be inspected to determine if you're in compliance with your permit. So please read and be familiar with your permit. Let's take a moment to discuss the consequences of noncompliance. For example, you may have had an inspection conducted at your facility and you were in violation with some of your permit requirements. These violations will be listed in detail in a letter that you will receive from ADEM. It is very important that you respond to the letter and that the response is received within the time frame specified in the letter. Please know that a lack of response may result in additional enforcement, which may include a monetary penalty. Finally, if you've read your permit and you still have questions, then please call or email your ADEM representative. For specific contact information, please visit our website at www.adem.alabama.gov and look for the area assignment map for the Industrial General Permit section. Again, thank you for visiting the Compliance Assistance section. I hope you found the contents of this video helpful. And remember, stormwater protection starts with you, and remaining in compliance is protective of human health and the environment. Thank you.